and away we go. Well, at least for now, it's just me. Eric would want to join, but for reasons beyond my explanation, he's unable to join. I can't argue with that. So, the only person who will be joining will be Risk. And before getting into whatever's going on in this world, I've been through, I don't want to drop the dump, but this is very rare, and this has been challenging for me. I just realized, who gives a damn? Like, we get it. We all of us are misunderstood. No one is going to be on the same page. No one is going to have the same opinions. And certainly, no one are going to have the same views. We're all different. And that's okay. However, what's not okay is to use those differences to justify actions against other people just to make yourself feel better about yourself. That will get you nowhere. Do not stoop to their level. Not now, not ever. And yes, I seem to have lost a few pickles. Make of it as you will. And now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the news and wait to see if Risk is going to join. Alright, firstly, non-folding e-bikes will be banned from London tube and rail services from the end of the month to, quote-unquote, ensure the safety of customers and staff, end quote. Okay, so if you can't use non-folding e-bikes, how are people going to get around? I understand that you want to encourage people to get folding bikes, folding e-bikes, or any folding kind of bike. Actually, now that I said it, it actually makes a lot of sense. But still, not a lot of people can afford a bike, let alone a folding one. I'm not sure how much a folding bike would cost. But yeah, in this day and age, and the economy, as it currently stands, yeah, people will struggle to get by. So, yes. Alright. Kenny McAskill succeeds Alex Salmond as ALBA leader. Kenny McAskill has pledged to deliver Alex Salmond's quote-unquote dream of independence for Scotland after being elected as the new leader of the ALBA party. Oh, this is new to me. I didn't know Alex Salmond was ALBA party leader. Oh wait, I really need to look into this. This doesn't get talked about often. And I've also heard recently Alex Salmond passed away when it was in North Macedonia, so rest in peace. Oh yeah, he was leader of ALBA. March 26th, 2021, up until 12th of October, 2024. Okay then, the more you know. Hey, so, okay then. I can see where this is going. But anyway, back to the ALBA party. Well, from what Kenny has said about giving Scotland its independence, all of the best to him. I know Risk won't like it, but, well, here we are. But yeah, Federal Court of Appeal upholds decision to boost accessibility at Air Canada. The Federal Court of Appeal has upheld a decision by the country's transport regulator that aims to boost accessibility for air travelers living with a disability. All the best to them. I don't have a strong opinion about accessibility, but I know it's important because, well, I mean, we all go through life very rough. but some people have it more rough than others. I mean, on one hand, it's great that accessibility is in the works, but on the other hand, I'm not saying I don't want to go against the government, but do we have to rely on the government to do stuff? If we don't have to rely on the government, maybe we can do it ourselves, like the people. It's just a thought, you know? I'm just saying, if that's possible, to not rely on the government to do stuff, that's great, because who knows what government could take over in the next few years. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but you always got to prepare yourself for the worst, because you never know. Quantum computing milestone 56 qubit computer provides truly random number generation. Okay then. In a new paper in Nature, a team of researchers from JP Morgan Chase, Quantinium Argonne National Laboratory, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and the University of Texas at Austin describe a milestone in the field of quantum computing, with potential applications in cryptography, fairness, and privacy. Wow, this sounds very promising. I've heard about quantum computing in the past, and oh boy, it's fast and efficient, but mostly fast. I don't know why people don't talk about quantum computing often, but hey, all the best to them. I always keep saying that. I need to say something else. I'll figure something out. But anyway, it's nice to see there's technological advancements for the next few years. Fantastic. Just hopefully doesn't fall under the wrong hands, because we all know how we feel about that, don't we? OpenAI expects revenue will triple to $12.7 billion in 2025. CNBC has confirmed Bloomberg was the first to report on the revenue figure, which was confirmed on CNBC by a source familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because the number is private. Huh. I'm not sure what to think of this one. Why does the name have to be private? And why is it only CNBC? What other news sources have said this? Well, we'll just have to wait and find out. It's early days, but for now, I can't be too on board with OpenAI, because although ChatGPT is very efficient and very advanced, it's only good because of the data collection. I wouldn't say data collection, it's just using people's existing prompts as a way to train its AI model. Well, DeepSeek, on the other hand, well, doesn't need much really, and it only requires like a fraction of the speed or technological infrastructure. I know some bias for DeepSeek, but I mean, I've been using it for months and it's been pretty good for me. However, nothing against OpenAI. However, there are a couple of concerns that has to be addressed, and if not addressed sufficiently or sufficiently, who knows what's going to happen. Early into spring, Phoenix flirts with first triple-digit heat day of 2025, approached its first 100-degree Fahrenheit day of 2025, recording 99 degrees Fahrenheit on Tuesday afternoon as mentioned by the National Weather Service. On average, Phoenix's first 100-degree day occurs on May 11th, but a heat wave was impacted temperatures since October 2024, according to city officials. Well, glad it doesn't get that hot where I'm from. And of course, certainly not where I visit family every year when I was young. Even though it does get hot, 100 degrees Fahrenheit hot is not something you would hear often. Maybe 80, 90 Fahrenheit, but not 100. But yeah, it's something. It really is. Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court ruling ends Oregon youth climate case. The Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal from a group of miners regarding climate change. The lawsuit alleged that federal energy policies violated the miners' constitutional rights to security and dignity. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the miners lacked standing to sue, leading to case dismissal. I mean, not to say they're wrong, but there isn't much of a case. I can't argue with that. And just because I say I don't support climate change does not mean we shouldn't care for the environment. Like, what was the world like before industrialization? Before the factories were built and all the skyscrapers and high-rises? There were tons of trees and wide open fields. That's important. I stand on that for sure, no matter what. Climate change is a different subject altogether, in my opinion. Like, it's literally in the name. Climate change. For many centuries, the climate has changed in temperature and whatever gases is floating in the air for many millennia. In fact, be glad that you get as hot as 20 degrees Celsius somewhere in Scandinavia, the maximum. Multiple millenniums ago, it could have been in the hundreds. I'm not, it's not, it's not exactly 100, but the point I'm making is millions of years ago, it was much hotter than it is right now. And certainly much colder because the Ice Age, there were ice caps in the north and in the south. Well, okay, mainly in the north because Pangaea was a thing and Antarctica was part of Pangaea and then shipped down south. But yeah, care for the environment. But if you hear any of the politicians or big corporations talking about climate change, take their words with a pinch of salt. Do listen to them, but don't be convinced or believe anything, at least everything. Because if there are people that do care about protecting the environment, what do they know about the environment? And what have they done to protect the environment? That is questions that those people should be asked at all times, so they know exactly what they're in for. That is all. The Mayhem Bowl. Lady Gaga announces her new world tour. Lady Gaga has announced her much anticipated Mayhem Ball tour with 4 dates in the United Kingdom, sending all of her little monsters collectively dizzy and hyperventilating with excitement. Bugger. After releasing her 7th studio album, styled as Mayhem, March 7th, the pop icon said the quote-unquote incredible response from fans prompted her to announce a tour across the UK, Europe, and North America. I mean, still, a whole decade later and still going strong. Wait, maybe it's nearly 2 decades, but certainly more than a decade later, she's still going strong. Now, of course, Eric wouldn't be too supportive of Lady Gaga because whatever she does in her music videos. However, she has played the game pretty well. She's doing absolutely well for herself. And of course, I've heard of my mates talking about Lady Gaga, especially Abracadabra. Again, just shows that no matter what time period, whatever year it is. Consistency is always the key. Oh yes, absolutely. Erdogan takes Turkey to new crossroads with mayor's arrest. Turkey's president on Wednesday accused the political opposition of, quote-unquote, sinking the economy during the country's largest protests in more than a decade over the arrest of Istanbul's mayor, the biggest challenger to Recep Tayyip Erdogan's 22-year rule. Dang, that's crazy. Erdogan has been president of Turkey for 22 years. And still going at it. Well, whatever happens, ding ding, mother trucker, could this be the end of Erdogan? No, I don't think so. He's going to keep going for another few years. Maybe another decade. But by then, we've got to ask the question, who will take his place as Turkey's next president? Only time will tell. Time will certainly tell. Sudanese army retakes capital Khartoum, says military chief after nearly 2 years of fighting. Sudan's army chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has declared Khartoum is quote-unquote free, and his forces have retaken the capital after nearly 2 years of fighting. Let's see what else there is to it. Sudan's army says it has retaken the capital Khartoum. Copyright 2025. Now it's not much, is it? It really isn't much. Let's see what else the source says. Sudanese Armed Forces Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan arrived by plane in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, after his troops recaptured the airport on Wednesday from the Red Support Forces. Reuters reported on Wednesday that RSF forces have mostly withdrawn from the capital, with the army deploying throughout several neighborhoods in what is one of the most significant developments of the 2-year war between the army and the RSF. Last Friday, Sudan's army took full control of the country's presidential palace in Khartoum, 2 years after it was seized by the paramilitary. Today, Al Jazeera aired footage showing Burhan inside the presidential palace, where he declared that, quote-unquote, Khartoum is free. Wow, 2 years. A lot of fighting and taking things back. Well, at least what I'm hearing. But the thing is, unless Western nations get involved in that, then there's going to be division. People don't give a damn about what goes on in other countries in Africa or Asia, unless the big United States of America gets involved. Or maybe the UK, France, or some major European nation. But hey, from what I can hear, seems like after all those years, Khartoum is free, and whatever the next few years comes from that, there'll be years and years of peace, harmony, and unity. Because that's all I ask for. Doesn't matter which side you're on in the battle, even if it's on the side that fights for the people, so long as there is no violence, and we can all live our lives the way we want to live our lives. However, not everything's that easy. It's not that easy to ask such things. It's gonna happen. But all we can do is stand your ground and fight for what is right. 53-year-old Catalan woman, a resident of the Camp Forest, Tarragona, died this Wednesday after being trapped by an avalanche while skiing in Georgia, the country, not the state, it's the US. She was part of a 6-person expedition, all from Catalonia, which is a community in Spain. which at the time of the events was lowering a shovel. That is, a usually not very narrow slope of constant inclination without trees, rocks, or any intermediate objects. An online club. Rest in peace. It's so sad that some people lose their life this way. If only there was more to this. And there is. But of course, it's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. We don't know what goes on until it's too late. And so on and so forth. All I can say is right now is rest in peace to that 53-year-old Spanish woman from Catalonia. And hopefully, ski resorts or whatever groups of people responsible for providing skiing activities near mountains where an avalanche is inevitable, surely those people they can learn from this and provide better safety for those going skiing. Well, it does remind me, I think my dad told me that my once removed first cousin went skiing somewhere in, was it France or Switzerland? Well, it was somewhere where people speak French, and she broke her collarbone. Yeah, that at the time that sounded very painful. So yeah, there's tons of risk doing winter sport activities. Stay safe, folks, because you never know what's going to happen to you. You can never be too safe. In fact, they're not safe enough, in my opinion. Gwyneth Paltrow is not here for your fake feud with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. On March 2025, Gwyneth Paltrow and Meghan Markle addressed rumours of a feud with a surprise joint video on Paltrow's Instagram, seemingly confirming that the rumoured beef was unfounded and fueled by internet speculation. Yes, because that's what the internet is these days. Speculation and making up rumours to get clout. And it's working. I don't encourage it, but it's working. Speculation of a feud arose after some news organizations and fans interpreted Paltrow's Instagram reel, where she was without makeup and making breakfast, as a veiled swipe at Markle, especially given the recent release of Markle's cooking show, With Love, Meghan, and accusations that Markle modelled her wellness brand after Goop. Look, I don't know what goes on in Hollywood or whatever the A-list celebrities are doing these days, but come on, man. Are you literally that bored? Look, I get it. You've lived life, you made millions of dollars, you're living in big fancy mansions or palaces, but come on, man. You know, shit like this gets very old, very fast. And people like me are gonna catch you out on it. Now, if there's more history to it, then fair enough. But if you're gonna start feuds and spats with people for whatever reason, or in fact no reason at all, in fact, then just shut up, man. I get there's rivalries and there's heated arguments and discussions. If you always plan on making it public for everyone to make their opinions, it's either you're bored or you just want attention. Now I can't argue with the second part, but still don't. But that doesn't mean you should do it. That's just me. But in their defense, even in their defense, even they do try to keep things under wraps, like don't make a big deal for the public to overreact. The public is still going to react. So there's that. But from what I'm hearing, there are better ways around this. Anyway, I can't think of any more words for this rant with celebrities. I understand how it goes on, why they happen, but I just don't agree with it. There are better ways to deal with this. Or in fact, there are funnier ways, in my opinion, to deal with this. if I had the chance. Not they will ever come to me, even if there's the roles or the big scene. If, I talked with Eric and Risk about my final year right now at university, and then going off to do television acting and being a voiceover artist. There is a script planned for me for when I get those big gigs. Even when I get to that point, I do not want to make a big deal out of it. But if it does come to light, and I don't have a choice but to address it, I try to be clever about it. At least bring humor into it. Not everyone's gonna like it, but it's the best I can do. Cops and robbers, ho ho. That's something I remember from primary school. I don't know why, but it just comes to me. Prescribed fire is a proven tool for Montana's future. Montana's forests, grasslands, and traditional farms and ranches are facing an escalating wildfire crisis, with fires growing larger, more destructive, and more costly each year. In response, landowners are seeking new tools to implement proactive management strategies aimed at combating the increasing risk of wildfire in the West. In that spirit, House Bill 84 proposes a pragmatic, science-backed solution. The Prescribed Fire Manager Certification and Liability Act. This legislation offers a path towards safer, more effective, proactive fire management practices while protecting private property, communities, and ecosystems. Well, sounds great. Just hope it works the way it should be working. Because if it doesn't, then where have we gone from there? We'd be back to square one. The beggars can't be choosers. Not everyone gets their way in life. Or at least most of the time I don't. But again, that's just me. Malaria breakthrough as scientists find drug makes human blood deadly to mosquitoes. Ooh, okay. Researchers say the drug is able to kill older mosquitoes that are most likely to transmit malaria. Good. Mosquitoes are an absolute nuisance. I'm done and I'm tired of all these like it's just ugh. That's just nasty. Well, a lot of things are nasty these days. Well, I hope there's more that comes through with this. Making blood deadly to mosquitoes. I'd love to hear more about this. Even though we probably won't, because, well, there are more pressing issues we should be worrying about, like the wars in the Middle East and whatever's going on with Russia and Ukraine and whatever shenanigans going on with Trump and Elon Musk and so on and so on and so forth. University of Toronto names Melanie Wooden as school's first ever female president. Really? In this day and age? Okay. The current Dean of Arts and Science will be the university's 17th president and will succeed Merrick Gertler, who has served in the role for more than 11 years. Again, I still want to know, why now is a woman the first ever president of a university department in Canada? At least in University of Toronto. I mean, come on, Canada. Why not sooner? Wasn't any other female candidates in earlier years in his country's lifetime? I'm just curious, because honestly, I'm disappointed, man. So much for progress and woman empowerment, you know? But hey, you get what you get. Well, it's better later than never. That's all I'll say. But of course, with the new president, hopefully she does well, because that's what matters. I don't mind women being in positions of power, so long as they can do the job as good as a man can. And if that's the case, let her do what she has to do. That's all that matters. But yeah, all the best to her. Napster pioneered music sharing over 25 years ago. Napster was acquired for $207 million by Infinite Reality on Tuesday. Infinite Reality aims to create virtual 3D spaces for music fans to enjoy concerts and purchase merchandise. John Vlasopoulos, the CEO of Napster, stated that it's time to reimagine what's possible. Vlasopoulos mentioned that artists will create environments that are really only limited by their imaginations. Now this sounds very, very promising. It's quite a stretch, at least right now, but over time, something like that can be possible. And I think this is something that Shadow Miner would certainly be most interested in. So, yeah, fantastic. Hopefully Napster, in the next few years, they can achieve that. I'd love to see how that goes. For now, I'm going to continue listening to music on Spotify because, I don't know, it's just like with Apple. Even though there are other options, I'm still stuck with it. GameStop to invest corporate cash in Bitcoin following in footsteps of MicroStrategy. GameStop's board has unanimously approved a plan to invest in Bitcoin following a strategy pioneered by MicroStrategy. GameStop announced it will close a, quote, significant number of additional locations, although the specific stores have not been identified for closure. GameStop has closed hundreds of stores in recent years due to customers changing habits towards online gaming, game buying, and streaming. The transition to Bitcoin serves as a defense against becoming irrelevant in the market. I remember a couple of years ago that GameStop was on the verge of collapse until eventually a couple of meme bros, they bought the shares of GameStop for cheap. And it was so significant, it got to the point